welcome to Creators and Coffee. I'm Erica, your host and the founder of Autofluencer, and joining me today is Dustin Miles, and he is, you may know him of Miles of Styles Racing, and he is a Formula Drift racer. So welcome, Dustin. So excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's so excited to get to talk about some good cars and marketing, my two favorite things.
Real quick, Dustin, give everybody a little bit of background if they aren't familiar with you, though. We've tagged all the socials, so please do follow him because he's awesome. But give everybody a little bit of your background.
All right. Well, I'm Dustin Miles. I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia. I have been driving for the last 11 years. I went to my first drift event, 2013, Road Atlanta. Saw drifting for the first time, had no idea what was going on, how it was being judged, but it was spoke to me and it said, Dustin, you can come out here and you can do this. And from that moment, I was pretty much hooked. So I got home that night, found some friends at the event, went to an event the next 2 weeks, found a car, ended up driving a friend's car, bought a car, went 6 months just learning the fundamentals of how to drive, and then my car broke. I played simulator straight for 6 months, and this was back in 2012 when it was only a G27. It was very minimal simulator kind of coolness than what it is today compared, but that's where I learned, where I got my fundamentals. And I went out to my first competition ever, qualified first, won the event, was hooked from that moment on. So then that point, it was like, let me try and get this Formula D license. I got my Formula D license 1 year into doing Pro-Am, and from 2017 up until now, I've been competing in Formula Drift PROSPEC. So before I got into drifting, I graduated from a local community college with a degree in marketing and business administration with a concentration in marketing. So I already had this marketing background, and I used that to apply it into my race program to kind of learn to use that in any way that I possibly can to my advantage. I also work really closely in our local community. I host drift clinics and local competitions and help our local track, Caffeine and Octane, to help the driving stay alive in the local community, which all of us should do. It is our job as drifters to help everyone else learn, help save that money that you've already wasted. That's the key thing right there, so we can get more people behind the wheel and in the seat having a good time. So that's what it's about right now for me.
One thing I love about you and your content, you might have a smaller kind of following on Instagram, but it's highly engaged. Probably one of the highest engagement rates. And I think it's because, and what I love about you is you are so yourself. You have so much personality. It comes through your passion, your love of what you're doing. And I think a little bit with that marketing background, you're not trying to fake things but you're truly being yourself. Talk a little bit about why that's important to you and kind of being you.
Well, I guess it's because it's hard to fake the funk, That's what they always say. You don't fake the funk, so that's what I try not to do. Try and be 100% me. And as a driver, drifting itself is a rolling car show. It's all about entertaining. It's about having a good time out there. If you're not having a good time, what are you doing it for? That's kind of my mentality about it. Be yourself, have some fun. I feel like I'm a little bit different in regards to how I came into drifting, whereas the majority of the drivers all came from like an extreme sport, and I came from a lot more of a traditional sport background, which maybe makes me a little bit different. I don't know. Definitely, I feel like gives me an advantage on an adrenaline as far as like a competitiveness adrenaline. And that definitely helps out with being hype and hyper and entertaining. So I guess I contribute it to that, and just have a good time, really. That's the important thing. You can't go out there and win every race, so you got to enjoy it no matter what. So have some fun, be yourself, and enjoy it with your friends. It's the best part about drifting.
I love that. Now, when you approach, obviously, drifting is not an inexpensive hobby. It comes with a lot of costs, and I think sometimes younger people or people that see that first race may not necessarily fully understand what they're getting into and understand that you got to find sponsors. Most of the drifters do not do it full time. They're not professional racers, right? It's not like IndyCar where like, that's all you do. I'm in a race team and I just race. Like most all of you have day jobs. You fix your cars at night. You drive to the races. It's not this super glamorous all the time. Talk a little bit about how you've approached sponsors and partnerships and maybe even advice to people getting into it or even that are in it that have struggled with finding partners and sponsors and making the numbers work.
Well, I think it's important to, at first, like I said, have fun with it. So get out there when you're making that content, if you can create some fun content, it can be something that a company can get behind no matter what's going on. I mean, a great example of this outside of myself is Andy Haitley, and he has been the perfect example for it in drifting with the Drift Wizard thing. He found a little niche that was able to create some funny content over it, and now when you look at the live stream, you see hats going out everywhere. So it's something that all of us to emulate, and what I try and do myself with just being myself, him just being himself and being quirky. Well, we're all having a good time with that. That's a great deliverable for a company. It's just important to really to go out there and keep a good spirit and be something that people want to talk to, enjoy the conversations that you have with everyone. Make sure you list, and talk about your partners as much as you can, but also be authentic and be involved in these conversations. Don't just have them to have them. So I feel like that's a real important part of being a driver for the people. We were all once fans at one point. Remember how it felt to walk up to someone and have a conversation with them and them not want to have that conversation. That's something that sticks with you a lot more than that little conversation you just had that really didn't take too much time out of your day. And now you have someone else that's happy and enjoying drifting and wanting to come back and do it again. That is where the seeds are planted to grow a good program and to flourish in the industry. It's definitely some of the best piece of advice I ever got from someone is motorsports all cost the same no matter who you are. It costs everything you got. So keep that in mind doing it, and definitely be ready. The great thing about drifting, in my opinion, is it can be from all levels. You can only spend $300 for a week and enjoy yourself, or there's teams out there spending $30,000, just like the normal kind of thing it is to go racing. So do it with your means, have fun with it. You don't have to be a pro drifter to love drifting. Just keep that in mind. You can go out there on a weekend and enjoy yourself and have a great time and be able to deliver stuff like that for companies, just as long as you're having a good time and doing your thing.
Well, and I love, we were talking before, you made a great comment for, when you give advice to maybe newer drivers or that are trying to race or that are trying to find sponsors, of keeping in mind of being a customer versus a partner of the brand, right? Can you speak a little bit about that and what that means?
Well, I think an important thing for a driver to keep in mind is, although it does look really sick when your car's all stickered up and awesome, but it is important when you're building this program not to give it all away for free. No one buys the cow when you're giving away the milk for free. That old saying that a lot of dads tell their daughters, well, it's also a great example right now. So if you're just out there giving away all your sponsorship space, it's going to be real hard to turn those people into a partner. And so what you want to make sure is that when you do, and this is very important, is that you are going to have to show your worth. You are going to have to give a little to get some, just like in anything else. But be mindful and don't give it out to everyone. Find those right companies that you can get something going with. Show them your worth. Let them know that, hey, this is an intro offer. This is something that we're going to get going with. And then next year we can negotiate and make something happen together, because it's really easy for a company to give you a dealer discount and turn you into a customer and not a partner. And then you're investing in all this content that they might not ever see just because you guys had two different opinions of what was going down in the beginning of the contract. You want to make sure that both parties know exactly what's going on. That's something that I've learned in my past of going through and feeling like, oh, I'm just going to get this sticker on the car. I'm going to give these companies a lot of content and something's going to happen, and they don't ever even see any of it because at the end of the day, you were just a customer and you didn't both know what you were getting into in the beginning of it. So definitely protect yourself and show your worth, and that's the best piece of it I can have for some up and comers.
To that, you made the comment, which I love, and I think this is great advice for brands and for something for them to keep in mind, especially when they're looking at data and reporting around driver performance. I mean, we have people who are like, ooh, can you show us how many products they sell? I'm like, bro, they're doing like one post, and you're not paying them and you're giving a discount on product. That's not how that works, right? That's a campaign. If you want it to turn and sell product, and you made a great comment, which I thought was spot on, is, we're in marketing, not sales. When you're partnering with drivers, they become an extension of your marketing team, which I will say all brands desperately need because they run super lean marketing teams and they need you all as those extensions of their marketing teams. Can you speak a little bit about that and how you approach your deliverables for your brand partners?
Yeah, so definitely a little bit will go a long way. And a great place to look for these things, like just this year, I found a couple companies within Instagram. So Instagram has a lot of these little tabs and stuff where you can go in and maybe do a creator content package with a company. And I just randomly shot out a couple of those and it worked out. Most companies have the owners running the marketing team or one person running the marketing team, and they don't have the time to get out to these events and create this content for their product, which is 10 times more important than a sticker on the car. I mean, you could pretty much go over there and negotiate a certain amount of videos per event better than you could a sticker on the car per event. So definitely something to keep into mind. They really love it and they'll thrive with you, and then it's a great deliverable, and it's more so a deliverable than anything else that you'll be able to do.
Yeah.
Being able to give something to these companies rather than just saying, hey, I just threw a sticker on the car. Do those content, do that video production for them, give them those product specific videos. That's what they're really going to love and what they're going to thrive with. And also definitely think outside of the automotive world. That's the biggest piece of advice that you could ever get, because these people in the automotive world, they know you need that stuff to go racing. So what incentive do they have to give it to you? They don't. So think outside of the box in that realm of getting outside of the automotive world and tap into these different products that you might use at the track that need that promotion. You know, those are the products that are competing for your dollar. And that's the people that you want to really be looking for. Who's competing for my dollar, not who's getting my dollar no matter what.
You're a great example of a driver who, you know, it's very clear when you speak, you take the content side very seriously, right? So as much as you say, like, go out and have fun and race, you really approach the content and your partnerships like a business. One of the things you do is you do invest in having a professional photographer with you and getting someone outside of just yourself or friends and family or maybe people in the pit taking some video. How has that helped you with your brand partnerships or even just your bandwidth when you're at a race, is having, you know, a professional videographer or photographer helping you to capture that content?
Well, it's the only way you're going to guarantee get it. You know, I mean, the other way you're going out there and, I mean, to be honest, I've always been fortunate enough in the sense that my car usually looks top tier on the amount of cars at the events, that I've never actually even had to rely on it, because I can sometimes just get the content because my car looks cool, but not what you want to rely on, and you won't get that specific content that you need. It doesn't necessarily need to be shot, you know, from everywhere. I feel like one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give people is to start learning how to edit yourself too. Like, that was my biggest caveat. I focused on learning how to drive, learning how to build, learning how to paint, learning how to do all these different things. And I didn't focus enough on learning how to edit videos. So I do have to back on these people. And if it is one of those things that you're open to learning how to do, it's one of those things to focus on, you know, get your content out, because that is what you're competing with as a driver. You're competing with YouTubers. You're competing with all these different people. You're not just competing with the guys that are pulling up to you against the line. So you have to be deliver to these companies similar to what these other guys can do. You know, you can play into the face of other things that you can do that they might not necessarily can't, where they can do the same thing to you. So it's just about finding those advantages and capitalizing on them.
Well, this was great. Dustin, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I feel like we could go on forever. So much great advice. And again, we're going to tag all of his social, give him a follow. It's well worth it. And take care and have a great next race.
Yeah, thank you very much. Look forward to see you guys again and following along with Auto Influencer.